Hey there, kids. How's it going? Um, I see. Hold on a moment. I'll explain why I'm slow speaking and clearing my throat and all of this. I see Diane and Chris and Jackie and Nancy and Jamie. Did I already say that? Oh my gosh. I don't think so. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Archetype Spotlight. Um, I lost both last night, so I'm kind of tired. Like I'm okay right now, and I feel like after this I'll probably crash. I'm about more than half done with my first coffee. You'll see my hair is this. It's been like tied up in a knot, and it's all wavy. I mean, it's kind of cute, right? I could like if I pinned it up or something, it would look like I did it on purpose. But anyway, um, I slept in not really a beanbag, but like it's sort of a beanbag, but it has like foam in it instead of little beads or whatever they are, you know. Ryan's not feeling well, and um, thank you, Diane. I do like when it's wavy. I just at this point it's looking sort of blah, but it's okay. Um, Ryan is not feeling well, and it could just be he has like a sore throat and stuff, and he thought maybe it was like food poisoning because when he has issues like that, he gets a sore throat. But then in the middle of the night, he woke up and he was all stuffed up and everything. So just to be safe, I went into Max's old room and slept in the foof. Which, if you hang out here, you know that that's that big crazy beanbag that we have. So I was awake for about 3 hours in the foof, and then I slept from like 4:30 until 8. So, I mean, I got sleep prior, probably from like 10 p.m. to 1:30, and then was up 1:30 to 4:30. Anyway, this is not interesting, but I just to sort of give you a disclaimer if I'm not speaking very well or what, but I'm sure we'll be fine. Sip, sip, indeed. Oh, thank you, Nancy. I just threw on this thing because as you'll see, this is like, I don't know, this is like a sleep tank top. I used to wear it to dance, like doesn't fit. See what's going on here? So I just have this fancy on. I just show you all my tricks. Hi, Regina. Hello. Okay, so what we have here is failure to communicate. Just kidding. Just going a little Guns N' Roses on you, except for that's from that movie, Cool Hand Luke. I messed up. But anyway, I digress. That's a great song, though. I love Civil War by Guns N' Roses, by the way. It's my political statement for the day. So, as usual, hello. I don't have these sorted out. So, while I'm sorting through cards, tell me how you're doing. How is your weekend going? How is your Sunday? And I haven't colored anything more. Have no updates to give you on that. Today we're talking about the judge and some other things. The judge, the shapeshifter, and the shaman. Okay. Hey, Trouble, he says. I think that's for Regina, right? Is that her new, that's her nickname for Chris? From Chris? I can't. Lazy PJ day. I definitely like have leggings on the bottom, as you know, so it's pretty much a PJ day. My Sunday has been good. I went into town and got new trainers. Ooh, fancy. Chris likes a little shopping on a Sunday, a little outing, a little haircut. Hello, Renee. Good morning. So, yeah, I am sorting through here to find our cards. I'm going to try not to miss them. We'll see how we do. Okay, there's our judge. Show you in a moment. So last week, we took off last minute. I know I told you all I was going to be here, and then we slept a little later than we usually do, and it was the day after our vaccine, our second shot. So it wasn't terrible by any means, but I think that helped us sleep a little longer. Helped us, you know what I'm saying. And of course, if Max sleeps a little longer than usual, we just go with it. So, though sometimes Ryan still gets up early and does his side gig stuff, but yeah, so that's how it all started. And then Ryan wanted to make me breakfast, which he always makes weekend breakfast, like 99.5% of the time. And but because it was Mother's Day, we don't really usually do gifts for like everything. We kind of decide ahead of time, like, hey, are we doing a gift for this or that or the other thing? Like a few months at a time, we kind of decide that. So there's our shapeshifter. Found another one. So he wanted to make me breakfast and like hang out and stuff. So I didn't want to rush that. And we were just kind of getting, like, I think once it hit 9 o'clock, I decided, I'm like, oh, we're not going to do this today. So sorry that I canceled last week, but I hope you all had a nice Mother's Day weekend, if you're in the States, or just a nice weekend anyway. Forest, the castle, we just need our shaman and then we can get started. Hi, Antoinette. Hello, hello. Okay. Ooh, I just love seeing all these cards. I'm sort of flashing them to you and I shouldn't do that. So this is week 8, which it's really, oh, that was Ryan sneezing. Did you hear? Week 8, but really we had Justin Michael on in between week 6 and 7. So this is really our 9th time gathering. Did that marker come off a bit, or here's the yellow one I did for the hunter just to show you. So for anyone that's new to this little Sunday gathering, Renee, I'm not sure if you've been here before or not, but welcome and thank you. And what we're doing, we started out with one card at a time, and then we've kind of increased as we've gone. So now we usually do 2 or 3, depending on what's up in the order of the cards and just kind of what I think maybe works okay together. We just kind of go through and explore them together. I read the entry from the book in full because of the nature of the deck. And so, and then we talk about how the archetypes of that week sort of relate to our lives. Do we feel like they're prevalent in our lives? Do we feel like they're not? Do we find that trait in ourselves or not so much? So that's kind of the deal. And then I'm supposed to be coloring the back of the card or cards that we go over that week and then kind of showing them off, but I'm behind on coloring. So, you know, I've had some like minor to moderate health issues the last couple of weeks. I'm doing better now, but that's part of my excuse. And, you know, I'm working and momming and all of that. So, hello, Kristen. So that's the deal. I also sometimes read a little bit from like the introduction, the opening part of the book, to sort of keep things in context with what the creator was thinking and all of that. So, oh, Renee has lurked a few times. Well, that's beautiful. That is totally great. Okay. Hello, Kim. So I have our 3 cards out. Let's do a little sip before we get really going here. Okay, May 16th. Is that crazy? I feel like it's a little crazy. Okay, my cleaning and organizing in here. Shouldn't really say cleaning. It's pristine in here. There's just a lot of stuff, but I've continued to last weekend for Mother's Day. Part of what I did in the morning, Max and Ryan went down to the studio and we're doing some music stuff, and I worked in this room a little bit. So progress is going really well. I can see like space on the table now. So yeah, that is going well. To look at that Kelly bag being shown off up there. I know I did some rearranging last week, and then I was on for a casual chat Friday. And so some of you have seen this already, but that's part of what I did last week when I had some time to work in here. So I now have the decks like 3 rows deep in each cube, and this middle part, so there's still 3 more down here. I have 3 of these like stacked. And so the bottom 3 don't have any decks. They still have the like fabric cubes in them with just random stuff. You know how I would sometimes go through and in a live video and pull one out and show you what's in it. We would just see what was what. So those 3 are still available if I need more space for cards. And I probably do, because I still have a few. I have a few stacked on the floor, this side and this side. I have a stack 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that I still haven't opened. I have my Cosmovisions, the whole collection that I still haven't opened. I'm definitely at one of those phases where like the next round of stuff, it just has to wait. Part of that is because I'm still organizing and I just want to sort out what I have before I get into new stuff. But point being, I made progress last week. And yes, if you weren't here Friday, this is your first look at my new. This stuff is just kind of random still, some bags and things like that, and a couple astrology decks that I'm not really sure where to put. I think astrology might need its own cube, but I have all these oracles in the middle, and I have all my Lenormand stuff. Lenormand and look at my trailer tank top sticking out. Lenormand and I don't even know what astrology is over there. Anyway, I'm extra motivated to really finish that up and get it set however it's going to be set. Right now, they're not really like organized by type or anything like that at this point, which is fine. I just want them type within a type. So the top 3 are tarot, that middle one's oracle. I just want to keep them separated like that. Like I don't necessarily have all RWS together or anything like that. I just want to get it set enough so that I can do, like my tarot shelf 2021 or whatever. Tarot shelf, I don't know what it's called. Simon's tag that he does every year. And now I'm extra motivated because Chris from Elemental Cartomancy put his current for a moment, but can you still hear me? Let me see what my connection is unstable. So we've been having some internet issues. Hopefully I don't get booted off. Let me know if you can still see me and hear me. I was talking about Chris's collection video. Did you lose any of that? That loaded around 3 a.m. my time. Okay, I'm back. Okay. Anyway, Chris at Elemental Cartomancy loaded his current collection video this morning at like 3 a.m. my time. So I watched that while I was awake and just listening to Ryan snore. Okay, anyway, lost you talking about it though. Okay, basically that's what I was saying. Chris's video popped up. at a great time. Not that there's not 1,000 videos on YouTube, but I was too tired to think. But then when I saw that notification, I was like, oh, boom. So if you want to check that out, that's cool. I just love to see people's collection. Okay, let's move along and look at our first card. So we have the Judge. And here it looks like some sort of animal eye, okay? And then we have a hand waving. Let me just check. Yeah, so it looks like one hand. I wanted to make sure it wasn't like hands praying. So this looks like one hand, like raising the hand like you're speaking or something, right? And then we have this hand reaching out or being held open to receive. And we have this little kind of skull bead. And I can't tell. I mean, I'm calling it a bead just because it's small. So we have this little picture of a skull. I can't tell if there are like eyes behind it, if it's like a mask or not. Okay, so there's our Judge. And let me crack this open. Okay. So we have the keywords are the critic, the diplomat, the advocate. Left margin says, the Judge's energy is contagious. When we feel judged, walls go up all around. Similarly, when we feel accepted, the entire world softens. Right margin says, Gandhi had an incredibly illuminated inner Judge. He was a lawyer. He practiced silence one day a week in order to hone his discernment while on his revolutionary path. And then our sort of elements or whatever at the bottom, that's confusing for tarot people though. Like the light and shadow, and to go deeper for like further study. When light, the Judge has discernment or is about discernment, advocacy, right action, and compassion. When dark, critical, punishing, unforgiving, and wall building. And to go deeper, Osiris and the white feather of Mot. So Chris says, such an odd card, interested in how the book explains it. Yeah, so I'm assuming just based on those margin notes that this hand is like what happens when you're being judged, right? Like someone's giving out the like the punishment or the decision. I don't know what I write testimony for my job, not for criminal things, but I should know what that's called. It's an order for us when the judge gives the order. Anyway, and this is when you're being accepted, right? But yeah, it's a very sort of like stripped down card in terms of the art. So it says, the Judge has an incredibly important job. They work every waking hour of every day, helping us discern what is safe, true, and just. When this archetype remains unconscious or is captivated by fear, wise discernment turns into painful judgment of self and other. Ironically, the Judge's energy can be the seed of racism, bigotry, and fear-mongering. This is the Judge out of balance, building walls, separating from other. When this same discerning force is made conscious and healed, however, the Judge may be found advocating for civil rights causes, standing up for the underdog, providing resources for the... And I dropped again. Okay, but I'm back again. I'm sorry about this. I'm going to go back just a sentence. When this archetype remains unconscious or is captivated by fear, wise discernment turns into painful judgment of self and other. Ironically, the Judge's energy can be the seed of racism, bigotry, and fear-mongering. This is the Judge out of balance, building walls, separating from other. When the same discerning force is made conscious and healed, however, the Judge may be found advocating for civil rights causes, standing up for the underdog, providing resources for those in need, and forgiving again and again. Love is the deciding factor. Awakening this archetype is essential for the complex times we are in. Get your judge in order. The world needs it. Renee says, second time in the last week I've come across the white feather of Mott. Guess I need to figure out what that's about. Ooh, I love that. Yes, I love when that happens. Okay, so this is coming back to, at the end, she says, get your judge in order, right? So just a reminder that we embody all of the archetypes, right? There are, even if we don't feel close to one or as though it's prevalent in our life, we have all of those facets, right? Similar to how I view the tarot, in that all of those cards are facets of one whole self, in one person's experience. The card and name gave me instant feeling of justice crosses judgment. Right. hmm Okay. And here in the book, we have, you have to remember there are symbols in the book too. So we have the scales, the eye, um, this sort of another eye, and then this just like an even cross in a box. It makes me think of, structure and stability and all that. Um, Egyptian mythology, Renee, when you die, your heart is measured on scale by Mott against a white feather. It's how you are judged, right? So we have that. Yep. Okay. So our next card is the Shapeshifter. If you have other things to say about the judge, please do it anytime. I'm just going to kind of roll through these and then we can talk, but you can, it's a free for all. So the Shapeshifter, we have this sort of scaly background and all these different colors. And then we have what looks like a fish eye. And then in that top triangle, like a piece, like part of a tiger's face. And then like a mask over either like a person with a really like darked out eye, like, or a mask. I can't really tell. Right, so here's the Shapeshifter image. Okay. Let's take a sip and hope that my internet stays on. Okay. The Shapeshifter keywords are the trickster, the elusive, and the formless. Our left margin note says, the ultimate shapeshifter works undercover in service of the greater good. The diminished shapeshifter becomes a people pleaser. Right? Renee says, oh yes, I know the story, just need to pay attention to how it currently fits in into my current journey. Very good. The right margin says, the shapeshifter is related to the mask. Okay, so I'm assuming that image is a mask. Notice if these cards come up together in one reading. If so, you are in the realm of heavy theater, illusion, possibility, deception. So if these cards come up together in one reading, oh, I'm sorry. I listed those things off as though those were the cards, but that's not right. The shapeshifter is related to the mask, which is a card in this deck. Okay. So throughout this, Kim Krans has, I don't know if they're called sacred pairs. And then like the trifecta, right? Like we had with Maiden Mother Crone. I think we've had another pairing. I think it was like the poet and something. I'll need to look. But that's one of the really cool things about this. And I want to go through and make a list of all of the things that she kind of groups together as pairs or trios. So I didn't emphasize the right words there. So shapeshifter is related to mask, when those are the two cards she's talking about in the deck. Notice if these two cards come up together in one reading. If so, you are in the realm of heavy theater, illusion, possibility, deception. Okay. So that's again one of the really cool aspects of this. Like if you're doing of this deck. If you're doing a big spread and certain things come up together, that's supposed to be, sort of like functioning like majors would, or that's how I see it. Okay. When light, the shapeshifter is vibrant, adaptive, and humorous. When dark, charlatan, people pleasing, trickery. To go deeper, Cindy Sherman. Just a name. Okay, so here's our main bit. The shapeshifter has a love of theater, games, and trickery. Its energy appears as one thing, only to reveal a more complex story below the surface. The shapeshifter is within all of us to some degree. It is the side of ourselves that is slippery, non-committal, and experimental, and longs to dismiss the rules. We need its energy to adapt to the ever-changing landscape of our existence. When the shapeshifter card appears, it's important to imagine you are looking at life through a kaleidoscope rather than a single focused lens. At any moment, the scene may shift, revealing a more enchanting vision than you imagined. Be wary, though, as the allure of the kaleidoscope can leave you exhausted and yearning for solid ground. Right? Dancing long term with the shapeshifter requires a central pillar of integrity that links us back to our center. What that makes me think of is in Lost when Desmond, it culminates in the episode called The Constant, but we don't need to know how many times I've watched Lost. But when, spoiler alert, by the way, I'm going to give you a second to mute me if you haven't watched Lost and you want to and you don't want me to tell you something right now. 3, 2, 1. Put me on mute. When Desmond is time traveling, he needs an anchor, right? Which is what she's talking about here, this pillar that links us back to our center. You need an anchor or a constant across the timeline so that you don't lose your mind, basically, right? Same kind of concept. Okay. I realized why my internet was going in and out. It's because my kiddo's watching Netflix. And we don't usually do more than one thing. Lost is like one of my favorite things in the world. Just so you know. And I've watched it numerous times. I think it's worth watching even if you know everything that's going to happen. So there you have it. It's my endorsement. I love it. I'll never get sick of it. Okay. Renee says, I knew I like you. Lost big time. I love Lost big time. Yeah. It's the best. Yes, Kristen, you do need to rewatch it. It's so great to rewatch. Max is watching a show called True. It might have like a subtitle about wishes or something, but it's this little girl with blue hair. And anyway, it's cute. Not everything he watches is like super 100%. I mean, it is kid friendly, but some things have like fighting or whatever, which is okay. But my point is, if you're looking for something that's like super fine for kids, True is really good. It's cute. Okay. So there's our shapeshifter. Diane says, I love the colors on the shapeshifter card front. Yeah, they're really, really nice. It's really cool kind of technique too, where there's just sort of like dots in it. So then the rest of it, that white space makes it look like the scales, obviously. One of the best set of fake band lyrics ever is on Lost. Oh, you all, everybody. I know it's hard to remember because it's so terrible. You all, everybody. Got a mod shift, so I got to bounce, but I'll definitely be back. Bye, Renee. Thank you so much for hanging out. Ah, yes, Drive Shaft. Okay. Oh, I love it so much. Oh, Charlie. Okay. The Shaman. This one's cool. I like this sort of all like scattery. Oh, and there's our little skulls again, right? We have 3 little skulls. We have something that looks like a seed or an eye. We have like that gold bead. We have a snake showing up again, like we did in some of our earlier ones. We have a hand reaching out, which is one of those recurring symbols in this deck. And then we have a gem, which looks like the exact backing of the card, right? Like that diamond looking thing. And some stars. Sorry, I'm trying to hold it even. It's really hard to do. I don't know why. Like with the top up. So here's our shaman. Now the hand reaching out in this one makes me think of like casting a bunch of stuff. Like when I see this, I think someone's like casting like those like skulls and stars and everything. That's what it looks like to me. But um it could also be like reaching for these things, right? But we have the snake here, I would assume, as like that healing aspect, healing and wellness, and that medicinal power. But when I see this, I instantly think like someone casting all of these things. Yeah, Antoinette, I like this one too. It's one of my favorites. Okay, so then alternate keywords or titles, I guess, for the shaman. The magi, the sorcerer, the medicine woman. Our left margin says the shaman can't be rushed. Working with this archetype requires study and perseverance. Think of it like bringing, or nope, it doesn't say bringing. It says brining, like saltwater brine, right? Think of it like brining or marinating. The content must permeate every fiber of its being. The right margin says, contrary to popular belief, the shaman archetype appears in every vocation: teachers, directors, surgeons, politicians. When light, fearless student and practitioner. When dark, overpromises, blames, hurts self and others. And to go deeper, read Black Elk Speaks and Michael Tucker's Dreaming with Eyes Open. So we have 3 archetypal ingredients constitute the shaman, and all must be present in order to reveal its magic. First, the shaman is activated by long-standing and diligent study, which is the mentor. So here she doesn't say, hey, if these 3 cards show up, pay special attention, but in which usually happens in a margin note. But here in this main content for this one, we have these 3 pieces of archetypes. So that's kind of cool. Someday when I make a list of these things, I would include that. So first, the shaman is activated by long-standing and diligent study, the mentor. Second, its orientation is generously and accurately aimed toward the healing of the self, the other, and the culture. So there we have the healer. And third, the shaman has a knack for finding doorways to the other world, allowing psychic visions and old magic to leak into this world, which is the unseen. And that one we haven't had yet. In this way, the shaman is a master who bridges the everyday and the sacred, revealing potent power needed desperately in our time. Yet where there is power, there is shadow, so the shaman must be vigilant in studying their darkness. This card reminds us that the force of healing is ultimately not our own. We must shape it and share it with the world. Okay. I just found a music video for you all, everybody. That's amazing. Okay. Did I read those? Yeah. All right. So let me go back and read a little bit from the beginning. You know what? Maybe we'll read the selves. So this is in a section called Understanding the Deck. Good use of words someday. So this is a little bit about the selves, which is the section that we're currently in. Even if you are totally new to the idea of archetypes It's likely you've come across a handful of the concepts behind cards 1 through 30. A yoga teacher might prompt you to embody the warrior. Beyonce might stir in you a feeling of the queen. And maybe, just maybe, on the late night dance floor, you let the animal run wild for a song or two. These cards represent the many sides of the self that are either awakened or asleep within us. Okay, so I keep saying prevalent or not prevalent. So that this is good to kind of touch base now that we're a good part way through the selves and kind of thinking about all the selves that we've gone over so far. Hmm. Since they are archetypal, we all have all of them within us. They may not be embodied or emboldened, but they are there. Remember, these are universal forces. There's no getting away from their energy. Repression won't work, denial will only complicate things. The goal here is to use the cards to awaken the full range of archetypal selves, giving light, space, curiosity, and acceptance to the ones that need it most. At the same time, we don't want any particular one to dominate or run the show. The more we can engage with the multiple selves within, the more we can live a fluid and adaptive life. Each of these archetypes has a time, a place, and a precise, potent energy that we will need someday. So there's someday again, Antoinette. Okay, so I won't read the places, the tools, or the initiations. Those are our next sections coming up. But I just kind of wanted to give us a little anchor back to the part we're working on now. And now I wonder if I can see that list so we can see how many we've gone through. So again, this is week 8, and we are through number 16. So it's like we've done 2 a week, even though sometimes we do 3 and sometimes we've done 1. So that's where we are. We're on 16 out of 30. So we're just over half of the selves. And that's the biggest group, I think. The next 2 sections are about 20 each. And then the initiations are 8. So anyway, that's where we are within this. I might flip through and see if there's another piece that I can read through, or I might just show you. So there are these little graphics as you go along, her sketches. Oh, and on the part that says awakening the archetypes, there's our shaman card image. Right, and that's this awakening part is sort of like how to use them, how to get in touch. I like how someday is used as a promise, but without ties of deadlines. Yeah, that's good, isn't it? Like big R romantic. So the sacred pairs and trifectas. See, so there's a list here of the sacred pairs and trifectas, but it doesn't include, like, the book in the main content includes other, like, hey, if these show up together type things. So maybe she's not labeling those as sacred pairs or trifectas, but when I make that list and put it in the group, I will include those. I'm going to go through and make that full list. So here, oh, let me just read this so it makes sense. Some archetypes in this deck are intrinsically tied to one another. They may appear as 2 separate cards, yet arise from the same archetypal source. The mother and father cards, for example, are dual expressions of the archetype of parent. The mother and father are inextricably linked, forever tied. One cannot exist without the other. They are like the sunset and sunrise. Likewise, there are also instances in the deck where 3 cards share a similarly interwoven dynamic. You may discover more interrelations than offered in this list below, but this is a starting point. So, okay, she says this isn't everything. The mother and the father, the crone and the shaman. So I'm glad I came across this because we're talking about the shaman today, and the crone wasn't mentioned in there, but she has it in this list. So way back when we talked about the crone, some people in chat were like, "Hey, can we make up, like our male versions of the crone?" And people had posted in the group like different ideas, like the green man and some other things that are not um, coming to mind right now. I want to say that Sandra suggested like a sage, someone like that. I know Kristen posted about a specific like cultural link that had male presenting archetypes that would relate to the crone. So anyway, here we have the shaman, which that makes sense to me. Similar to like a sage and the green man and like other things that people had suggested. Sip sip. So anyway, there's that. Maybe that'll be my next project for the group. I have not posted in a while. As you know, because I posted yesterday, haven't posted in a while, but I posted some choreography notes up there just so you can see. If you wonder, like, why hasn't she colored any more of the backs? Like, where are pretty pictures of the backs? Well, I just have lots of other things going on. I wish I had a whole day to just sit here and do this. Trust me, I really, really do. Julianne Victoria on Little Zen Crone, Wine with video last night, says the self says she herself identifies as a shaman. I was not there the whole time, but I did hear her say that. I think I was there for maybe like 10 more minutes after that. But I had to run. Yes. Yes. Okay. So I think that's enough from the beginning of the book. Do you have experiences with these that you want to talk about, or think of other cards that they link to, like our shaman and crone? People had mentioned, Chris and someone had mentioned about the judge like being like a mix of justice and judgment, right? As like tarot concepts. So that's interesting to think about how we compare these up. And that's something I said way in the beginning, right? I love there are 78 cards in this deck because I can pair them up with tarot cards, not to be a permanent set thing, but I would just love doing something like that, just flipping through and even not even thinking about it that much, but just trying to do like a speed round and see like what I would pair together, either as similar or contrasting from whatever. I just love that there are 78 that I can make pairs for if I wanted to. Probably ties into my like Lenormand houses obsession, right? That I just want all the cards to have a pair. That's my Libra self, right? Wanting the cards to be in couples. I don't know. Judge, Shapeshifter. What do we think about for Shapeshifter as it relates to a tarot card? It could relate to a bunch of them, but I'm thinking of something in particular. I'm wondering if you all are thinking of that thing. And our shaman. Shaman, I might think like Hierophant or Star, something like that. I tend to think of the water and the star card as healing. Antoinette says Devil and Death for the Shapeshifter. Interesting. Jackie says, I get that couples thing as a fellow Libran, right? I want the card to have a friend. So I was thinking about the Strength card with this Shapeshifter, because I tend to read that as like integration or reintegration of like the lion and the self, like the compulsive wild self and the controlled like willpower self, and sometimes shifting in between those two things, right? Hey Justin. Chris says Shapeshifter could be temperance, bringing different elements together. Yep. And so I think, once I start thinking about integration and how, for me, that that facet falls into a lot of tarot cards, that this could relate that way. So Justin, we're just doing some, I don't want to say final thoughts. We have about 15 minutes left, but today we're talking about the Judge, the Shapeshifter, and the Shaman. So, Temperance, Strength, Devil, and Death. With the Judge, again, we talked about justice and judgment. Ideas about the Shaman or ideas about any of these? Do you feel that these things are embodied or emboldened in you? Shapeshifter could be like the moon too. That's a good one. Yep. It's helpful for an introvert to be able to channel some shapeshifter energy at times, like when they need to do public speaking. Yep. Yep. Sip, sip. Ideas, ideas. I'm going to color for a minute. Let me just see here. Yeah, it's good to channel or tap into different archetypes for different times, for sure. I'm just going rogue here with the coloring. Not even going to ask you. I'm just going to color for a minute. Okay. Pop that off. Okay. Maybe just a little bit. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. So yeah, I don't know. Today's going to be extra laid back because Ryan's not feeling well. So I was listening to a Jungian thing last night and it made a really good point about archetypes. Ooh, tell us the point that it made, Justin. If you recall, and if you feel so inclined. Jamie needs more coffee. Thanks for hanging out with me for a minute. I just want to get motivated to color one of these. Just a little section. I'm going to make you guess. Shapeshifter like the moon. Yes, Diana's agreeing on that moon front. Anyone else have ideas about our... So the shapeshifter and the mask, that's the pairing that I was going to remember for my ongoing mental list. Justin says, it said we have to be careful to not let our relationship with people be influenced by archetypes. In other words, archetypes we are drawn to. Okay. I read a little bit from like the intro section just a bit ago that sort of makes me think about that, where she said that we have to be careful not to be let me look. It was the people, the selves. The goal here is to use the cards to awaken the full range of archetypal selves, giving light, space, curiosity, and acceptance to the ones that need it most. At the same time, we don't want any particular one to dominate or run the show. So that, I think, is sort of similar or related to what you're talking about. The more we can engage with the multiple selves within, the more we can live a fluid and adaptive life. Each of these archetypes has a time, a place, and a precise, potent energy that we will need someday. Chris says, what archetypes are you drawn to? Just the twink. In whatever episode of Modern Family we were watching the other day, Mitchell tells off, like, there's a gay bully. Like, the bully is the gay kid at the school. He's, like, super mean to everyone. And this, like, reverse, and then, like, Mitchell tells him off about, all the gays before you paved the way and made it so that you're not shoved in a locker anymore. I don't know if I'm making any sense. Justin. In other words, your parish priest, you may see him as the wise old man. You may have a particular affinity for the wise old man or a father figure. Kristen says, I used to do that with priests, actually. Yeah, I talked a little bit when Justin was on, actually, that my pastor, like when he moved, my last Sunday with him there, this part of the card is like not taking this marker, so just hold on. That after my one pastor had left, I still went to church for a little while, but it kind of fizzled out after that. He was really, this like key part of that church. And it was just, especially to all the kids, you know what I mean? Like we'd go to like summer camp and stuff. And, he was nice and he was present. And I don't know, he wasn't this like rough person. And so I think a lot of people who maybe have like a kind of like gruff dad, like do you know what I mean? Like this dude sat around the fire like very stereotypically and like played guitar around the bonfire at night, you know what I mean? And not all dads are like that. Like he was like open and he spoke to us a lot, obviously, because he was standing up in front of the church. Do you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of times I think people feel drawn that way because, it's someone who talks but also listens. And I feel like one main theme that comes up with father figures is sometimes they're not available, even if they're there, kind of thing. Or they're quiet, they don't really quite know how to engage or interact, whatever. Okay, so here's like a little bit of purple that I did. Well, what card out of the 3 that we talked about today do you think this is? This is just a fun game we're doing. Thanks for dealing with my tired self today. Mm-hmm. That's how priests were able to get away with what they got away with. Shame for good priests. We get swept up by archetypes, right? So that in many cases, if that becomes someone that you trust, then, it turns into, well, that wasn't connection, that was grooming, right? Thankfully, and obviously that's a huge thing. I mean, that's sadly a really common thing that happens. Thankfully, in my experience, that it was all around good. It wasn't, that I knew of. There was no shadow side to that. Jackie says the judge. Nope, it's not the judge. It's the shaman. Doesn't really match anything, but I think I'm going to do it like purple and red and pink. I know there's orange in it, but I don't know. Maybe a little orange. It's going to be a multicolor though. Because it makes me feel like casting. I want it to just be all mixy. So anyway, there's that. All right. Well, Justin's got a podcast for Jamie. That's awesome. You can put it in the group if you want. Justin. Here's my Diane bag. So sweet. Okay. Any closing thoughts from you lovely people before we wrap it up for today? I'll try to work on that list maybe. Maybe I'll do that. Play in the kitchen room with Max or something and write some notes for our group. Closing thoughts. Sorry, I'm so tired. Maybe I don't seem any different. I'm just sort of sitting here. Coffee's almost gone. I can go fill up on some water. Oh, Diane, I just saw your message about Shapeshifter. Nope, it is the Shaman. Again, doesn't really match, but I just want it to be a little bit of everything. Chris says, when I see shape shifting, I always think about how we all put different masks on. Yeah, and that's what Kim Cran said about that pairing, right? That the mask goes with, that's not the right one. Did I put them away already? That the mask kind of pairs with the shapeshifter. And I think that's part of this image. I think this is a person in a mask and this like black and white image. So yeah, definitely like different aspects of ourselves that we show depending on where we are and who we are with. Yep. And that makes me think about Lenormand when Kelly says, when she explains houses in Lenormand, that the card on top of the house affects the card, right? You act different as a person when you're in your grandmother's house than when you're in your own house or when you're in the grocery store or whatever. So that's how she kind of describes that. So yeah, it's not to say necessarily that masks have a totally negative connotation, right? We're going to be, I speak differently to Max than I do to my mom, than I do to Ryan. You know what I mean? It's all kind of tapping into maybe those different archetype selves as well, depending on who we're with, maybe. Thank you, Jackie. I will let him know, and I hope he does feel better soon too. The shaman is another archetype we may have a particular affinity for, especially spiritually minded people. Think of people we idolize in the spiritual community. Mm-hmm. Right. And when, the book has interesting things to say about the shadow side of the shaman, right? That a true shaman needs to be comprised of the student. Is that what it's called? Oh, the shaman is activated by long-standing and diligent study, which is the mentor, she has in parentheses. Second, its orientation is generously and accurately aimed toward the healing of the self, the other, and the culture, which is the healer. And third, the shaman has a knack for finding doorways to the other world, allowing psychic visions and old magic to leak into this world, which is her card called the Unseen. So the mentor, the healer, and the Unseen cards sort of make up the shaman. So it is this really, really powerful archetype. Like hats, work, family, friends, groups or Facebook groups. It's not always bad, but we do often get swept up. Most of our relationships with people are based on archetypes that has the potential to not really see a person who they are, like as they truly are, right? I think that's what Justin's saying, right? And that's what he was saying about the Jungian article, podcast. I already forgot that we can't, that we shouldn't be so drawn into the archetype of the person. Oh, this person is this type, and so they are good for me or safe for me or compelling or interesting to me, right? That we shouldn't just base the person on an archetype or focus solely on that. because then we just see them as that and not as all these facets. But remember, everyone is all of the things, whether it's light or shadow, right? So I have 78 facets. And if I'm only ever presenting myself as 2 or 3, then what are all those things that are in shadow, right? Is that kind of making sense? Like that's um the lesson is, or the reminder is, to be aware that everyone is made up of multiple things, and don't just class someone as the healer or the, oh no, sorry, Justin, you're great. Not viewing the person as just one thing that covers up all flaws, right? I'm like, ooh, Aquarius, you'll be trustworthy and truthful. I'm so trusting, Antoinette. Right, right. You have to be, um, right. We have to be mindful that labels are not an all inclusive label of positivity, right? Um, right. Sometimes that Aquarius um, is too wrapped up in their side business to even talk to you, and they're going to be truthful and say, I don't have time, or they're going to ignore you for a long time because they're busy working on their creative endeavor, right? I'm just throwing out like a negative to it. So everything is multifaceted, right? That's like my favorite word, multifaceted. Everything is that. All right, kids, 11:01. I'm going to tap out because I'm fine, but I think I'm going to crash pretty soon. Thank you all so much for being here. Next week, we are going to talk about, let's see if we're going to do 2 or 3. Oh, right. I looked ahead a little bit. Yes, we project it. Deanne and Jamie, we should have a conversation about this. Yeah, for sure. See you. Oh, see you. I'm like, what? Um, okay. The lover, the siren, and the animal are the next 3. We're going to save the animal. Next week, next Sunday will be the lover and the siren, right? Those work well together. So I hope to see you next week for week 9, lover and siren. I will make the event sooner rather than later, and I will try to put some stuff. No, I will put something relevant in the group this week. Okay. Thank you all for being here. I love you lots, and I will talk to you soon.